I bet I know what your worst nightmare is. It's being upside down on your new house. Well, today we're gonna talk about how to make sure that doesn't happen. Well, hi everyone, I'm Wendy Pinnell, and today we're talking about overpaying on homes. Now, I hear you, many of you are thinking, aren't we all overpaying with how high interest rates are? And yes, our market is at a pretty high level of unaffordability, but in spite of that, there are still many buyers being taken advantage of or simply not well informed enough to not overpay on their next home. And that's where I come in, right? I'm here to help all you buyers out there stay informed. Your first way to avoid overpaying on your next home is to look out for the home pricing shell game. Now, home builders are well aware of the psychology behind buying. Their goal is to keep their buyers distracted by continuously raising and lowering prices. In this way, once the prices are lowered, right, buyers are more willing to pounce on the deal without even thinking about whether or not that sales price was actually overpriced or not. So what does this shell game look like in real life? Well, builders raise prices to way more than market value, and then they lower prices to actual market value, and they call it a sale. All right, let me show you these homes in Wiley as an example. Let's start out with 2910 Woodland Court. Now, the original list price was $496,500. The current list price is now $536,500. Okay, so that's a $40,000 increase. So as of right now, the current price per square foot of the home is $250. All right, next up, let's take a look at 2903 Woodland Court. The original list price was $540,500. The current list price is $481,400. And that's a decrease of $59,100, which gives the home a current price per square foot of $203. All right, now how about 3102 Concord? The original list price was $720,000. The current list price is now $599,000, which is a price decrease, right? Decrease of $121,000. All right, so that's a pretty serious cut, right? Well, now the home's current price per square foot is $271. And last up, 3110 Rolling Hills. The original list price was $731,779. The current list price is now $629,000. So that's a price decrease of $102,779. Again, that would look pretty exciting to you as a buyer, right? Well, now the home's price per square foot is $254. Okay, now get this. These homes are all by the same builder. They're all comparable. They're all new construction, and they're all within 500 square foot in size. The builder is raising the prices on some, lowering the price on others to keep the buyers looking for a good deal, and ready to jump on it whenever they think they find one, right? And I mean, seriously, who wouldn't be excited, even thrilled about buying a home with a $121,000 price decrease? I mean, these are the kinds of homes you see on housing crash videos all the time. But what are these homes really worth? Well, the average price per square foot of comparable sold homes in that community by that builder is $240 per square foot. Homes there are selling at an average of 93% of list price. So if we take that data to our examples above, the first home, 2910 Woodland, is priced high at $250 a square foot. The second home, 2903 Woodland, is priced under the market at $203.42 per square foot. The third home and fourth home, 3102 Concord and then 3110 Rolling Hills, they're both way overpriced at $271 and then $254 per square foot. And okay, keep in mind, that's even after they've had their prices reduced by over $100,000. Okay, did you catch that? After a price reduction of over $100,000, these last two homes, they're still way overpriced. Are you beginning to see what builders are doing here? As a buyer, might you be tempted to go for like the best deal? I mean, the home with the biggest decrease in price? Okay, so these are the games you see all the time in new construction. I mean, builders know that there is a psychological thrill in buying a steeply discounted home. So they're constantly raising and then lowering their prices. Now, obviously, your solution is you need a realtor on your side who will give you a comprehensive market analysis. Now, that being said, let's move on to the next way you can avoid overpaying on a home. Okay, you ready for it? Do not blindly trust a realtor. I see homes on the MLS all the time where the buyers overpaid. And that means they had a realtor and the realtor didn't do their job of helping their buyer to avoid overpaying. Now, I realize this may sound like oddly self-defeating, me, talking about you using another realtor, but obviously it happens all the time, right? In fact, I have spoken with far too many buyers who've already committed to using another realtor, and they're just frustrated by being stuck in an agreement with them, right? Because either that realtor won't communicate with them or that realtor doesn't seem to understand the market. But either way, they're frustrated and they're reaching out. This actually happened to me so many times that I had to make the first field in our Let's Find Home questionnaire be to ask whether or not you're already working with another realtor. So I want to give you some tips on vetting your realtor, okay? Because I get, some of you may be buying in another part of Texas or even another state, or maybe you just don't like me, which is perfectly fine. Either way, you want to do your due diligence before and after signing an agreement with a realtor. So regardless of your situation, you want to ask any potential realtor the hard questions. I mean, heck, ask me the hard questions. All right, so here are some examples of questions you should ask, okay? Number 1, will you charge fees? Number 2, how will you help me to not overpay? You may find yourself in a bidding war or needing to negotiate with a new construction builder. How will your agent help you with this? Number 3, who will I work with directly? You might be surprised to know you'll never even meet that friendly YouTuber you've grown so fond of. And now this isn't always a bad thing, okay? Many companies have a number of agents who focus 100% on working with clients, and they do a great job of it. But if they're going to assign you to another team member, be sure to ask who that person is and how experienced they are. Number 4, by what form of communication will you keep in contact with me and how often? Now, this is a great question for a couple of reasons. The number 1 complaint buyers have about their realtors is that they don't communicate. So, you know what? Get that one out in the open from the start, okay? Ask things like, how long will it take for me to get an answer to a text or a phone call or an email? Secondly, you may prefer emails to text or even phone calls, but your realtor may customarily communicate through only one of these ways. Instead of just assuming they'll contact you through your preferred method, good idea to have this conversation from the get-go, if it has the potential to be a problem for you. This is particularly true for our international buyers. Texting isn't always feasible, and a lot of times we also have a 10 to 12 hour time difference. So just, be sure to have that conversation. Ultimately, whomever you decide to use as a realtor, remember to not solely trust their word or their opinion, okay? What you want is data, okay? You want numbers. Insist on that. You don't want opinions. You don't want pep rallies or reassurances, right? You most certainly don't want someone who pressures you. When it comes to making sure you don't overpay, you need cold, hard data and someone who will honestly tell you when a home is overpriced, right? You need someone who's willing to give up a paycheck to make sure you don't pay too much. I mean, far too often, the opposite happens, right? You'll get pressured by the realtor, okay? A realtor should never pressure you. Their counsel should be objective and data-driven. Now, that being said, sometimes the data will pressure you, okay? Don't mistake a realtor sharing data that isn't what you want to hear with a realtor who's wrongfully pressuring you, right? So no matter who you're working with or where you're buying, right, insist on the numbers. speaking of realtors, if we sound like the right person for the job, you'll definitely want to check out our Let's Find Home questionnaire that you can find in the description section. All right, your next tip to avoid overpaying is to keep your options open. The narrower your criteria, the more the builder has the advantage. For example, if you're looking in a subdivision with very few homes available and there's only one floor plan you like and they only have one of those floor plans, all right, scarcity is on the builder's side. Okay, they can be firm with their price because they know you don't have any other options. Now add to that, if they've had like this huge, price reduction, and you're gonna be excited and feel like it's your lucky day, right? When in fact, it may still be overpriced. So here are some specific ways keeping your options open can seriously help you with getting a good deal. All right, if you can, keep an open mind to multiple areas. I mean, sure, you want an A-rated school district, right? But there are many A-rated school districts in the Dallas area. And might an A-rated individual school work for you instead, even if it's in a B-rated district? Don't limit yourself to just thinking about neighborhoods and areas when I say to keep your options open. If possible, keep the option of when you buy open as well. Okay, remember, seasonal price swings, right? You'll get better prices in the fall and winter than in the spring and summer. If you're able to keep several options open, you don't have to be afraid to walk away from a home that's way overpriced, right? You're bound to find another home you love that's more appropriately priced, in this giant metroplex somewhere. Another thing you need to be aware of in order to avoid overpaying on houses is to know the landscape before you show up thinking you're ready to negotiate. Okay, so what does this mean? Well, first of all, know in advance if the builder's motivated. Okay, so what are the signs of a motivated builder? Try to think about like a builder's motivation in terms of their exposure. If a builder has a lot of unsold inventory homes, they have a lot of exposure. And so they're gonna have a lot of motivation. They're not gonna wait on new builds to sell to begin recouping their investment. This is also true when it comes to the size of a community. A smaller community will have less exposure because they'll have less unsold homes to recoup their investment on. Another highly exposed and sometimes motivated builder is one who has just begun their community. They've already planned out numerous homes and sunk a huge amount of money into the community that any buyer who comes to check out the community, they're just gonna see an empty field of dirt and like a lot of construction equipment. I mean, that doesn't exactly scream like home sweet home. So those builders, they know they'll need buyers to take a leap of faith in order to buy a home there. Those builders know they'll need to be a little more motivated than their neighboring community that's already built out and beautiful. The second to knowing the landscaping is knowing if the price the builder is quoting is actually supported by market sales or not. And this is when your realtor will come in handy with a market analysis on the home. We had a situation once where I told this sales consultant her price wasn't supported. Right? Her reply was to tell me I was looking at contracts from last year that were just now closing, so those didn't count anyway. But guess what? They'll surely count to the appraiser. Right? You want to do enough research to know in advance if the builder is exposed and likely to come down in price. Now, on top of that, since your realtor is your greatest resource, you want one who'll be doing this also, right? So you want to ask questions like, is there another builder in the same subdivision we can use as leverage? When I think about not overpaying, obviously I don't want to pay above market value, but if I have a shot at getting below market value, okay, then we definitely want to give it a shot. Sometimes you will have sales consultants who will basically say, listen, make me an offer. On the other hand, sometimes they will tell you to your face that they are not coming down in price whatsoever. And again, you have to be willing to walk away, which brings us to our next important step to not overpay on houses. And that is, don't get emotionally attached. Now, don't get me wrong. There is a time and a place for falling in love with your new home. And we definitely want that for our buyers, but you have to know the numbers first, right? You've got to be able to keep your poker face before the negotiations are through. Okay, I've been in many negotiating situations where I'm cringing because our buyer is acting way too eager. All right, sales consultants will pick up on that and they'll be less willing to negotiate, right? Because, they think they've already got the sale in the bag. Next up, in not overpaying, okay, consider this. There are other ways to get a great deal without lowering the price of the home. I mean, maybe you're paying market value, right? But still, you'd like a way to at least sweeten the deal. If you can't get them to come down on price, negotiate some non-money issues with them. Okay, there are a ton of options here when it comes to new construction, all right? For example, many builders are offering buyers an allowance in the design choices of the new home, right? This can definitely be negotiable. All right, similarly, closing cost assistance is another common incentive given to buyers that can be negotiated. This one usually requires the use of the builder's preferred lender. However, if you're using an in-house lender, all right, you may be able to further negotiate what the closing costs actually are before going under contract. Other things we've seen negotiated are extras that can come with the home at the buying price, okay? So things like appliances, okay, blinds. The most important factor when it comes to these negotiations is to get everything in writing. Okay, the sales consultant doesn't have any power on their own. So if they offer you something orally, don't take it as truth until they've talked to their supervisor and offered it to you in writing. And even then, you need to make sure you see that offer in the contract before you sign it. Yet another key to not overpaying on houses is to be very careful with escalation clauses. See, you can go into a contract very aware of market value and not pay a penny more than your new home is worth, but still end up completely upside down if the contract has an escalation clause, right? You do all your homework, but then you still owe more than the home is worth. Okay, so how's that happen? Well, let's take a closer look at what an escalation clause is, okay? Basically, an escalation clause can cause the price of your new home to change, right, or escalate if the builder's material costs increase. The builder will let you know the price on your home has just gone up, okay, right? It has escalated. These clauses can be pretty outrageous. I mean, they're not quite as common as they used to be, which is a good thing. Now, that being said, we actually ran into one very recently when we were negotiating with a builder for one of our buyers. I mean, look at it this way. Even though you're already under contract, if the price of your home suddenly goes up, you may not even qualify for your loan anymore. Okay, another way many buyers don't think about that can cause them to overpay for their homes is adding too many upgrades, right? If you're purchasing a new build home, it's really easy to get carried away at the design center. I mean, come on, right? You're excited, you're building your new home, and then suddenly the builder has put like tons of upgrade options in front of you to choose from. But here's the catch. You don't want to over-improve your home. With the help of your realtor, know what the home's actual value is and upgrade accordingly. If you've been given a design allowance as an incentive, use it wisely. All right, if you can, negotiate a larger design allowance so that you don't end up paying above market value for the home once all of your upgrades are included. When you're at the design center, it's super important to remember that some upgrades will add a ton of value while others won't add any value at all, right? I talk all about that in this video, which you may want to watch next. In the meantime, Wendy out.